What is going on, everyone? Hopefully you all are having a great day. I want to welcome you to a very exciting episode here on the MIgardener channel. Nowhere else but here on the MIgardener channel will we talk about this. And I am really excited about this topic because it's been brought to my attention that I have not yet done a whole lot of videos on soil health. So this is going to be an ongoing series. I'm hopefully going to have maybe about 3 or 4 videos coming up that I'm going to have in succession about soil health. And it's one thing that I really think is not yet talked enough about. Hopefully, I'm going to kind of get the ball rolling, get the conversation started, so that a lot of other content creators that also do gardening will start talking about soil health. It is just something that I really feel is a lacking topic, and so many people have voiced this to me and said, Luke, you know, you talk so much about gardening, but you talk so little about specifically soil. And so I said, okay, you know what? You're right. I looked back at the videos. I'll own it. I don't know why I have not yet talked enough about soil. And I know we've done videos on, you know, how to have a successful garden in three parts. And one of those parts specifically talked about soil, but not necessarily about soil health and the importance of soil health and different ways you can maintain soil health. So in this episode, we're going to outline why healthy soil is the key to about 90% of a successful garden. And also then we're then going to transition into a few episodes in this series about different ways you can maintain your soil health. Very kind of snippet, short, no longer than 8-minute videos, hopefully, so that they're really easy to retain the information. Well, healthy soil is comprised of sand, silt, and clay, and humus, folks. Humus. Without humus, you cannot have healthy soil. I don't care what anybody says. If you do not have humus, you will have basically, I'd say about 30% healthy soil, even though humus generally only makes up about 5% of your soil structure. It's incredible. The 5% of your soil structure gives you probably more than 70% of the success coming and the health and the vitality that comes from your garden. And that is because humus is basically the home for beneficial fungi and bacteria. It's basically an exoskeleton. If I take all of these wood chips and in 3 or 4 years come back, these wood chips will still be, I guess, recognizable as wood chips. But what will have happened is there will be an exoskeleton left over. Cell membranes, when they break down, they don't fully break, I mean, they do eventually fully break down, but when they're in their humus state, the state that is the most beneficial for the garden, it still will look like a wood chip, but it is fully broken down as a wood chip. It's just not yet broken down completely. And that's because it provides, it has a lot of surface area, and it provides holes for bacteria and fungi to live in. It also holds on to that moisture. It also will trap nutrients inside there. It's basically a nutrient sponge, and it is a home for all of your life and flora and fauna to live in. And that is why it is so crucial to have in a garden. I see so many times people talking about their raised beds or their garden in general, and they'll say, you know, I put in amazing soil in the beginning, and I've gardened it in a few years, and over time I've noticed my soil health or my garden success has started to decline. And it's a very simple, very simple pinpoint as to where the problem is coming from, and it is coming from a lack of I guess, maintenance to the soil. I can't say it's necessarily been neglected, because a lot of times people, they do a lot of working to their garden, but you're not adding what's needed. You're working your soil, you're flipping it, you're keeping it weeded and stuff like that, which are all very good. You're keeping it well aerated, but you're not adding the most important part. And so oftentimes I think gardeners really take gardening as kind of a, all right, I've built this, now I just get to have a successful garden from now on. And this is not the case. It takes a lot of work to maintain your soil's health to keep it up to optimal levels. Also, another thing about successful soil is, as gardeners, we're really obsessed with soil in general. I think a lot of times, really, I guess, like nerd gardeners, I guess, people like me that are just kind of obsessed with gardening and everything that has to do with gardening, we really obsess about soil. And I think often We obsess so much about soil that we overlook the most important part of the soil. So in a raised bed, you have 12 inches of soil. But what is the most important part of that soil? If you said the top 1 to 5 inches, you would be correct. The top 1 to 5 inches of soil is what feeds your plants. It's called the rhizosphere. That is the level of soil, that is the depth of soil that is hospitable for bacteria and fungi, and it is usually the richest portion of your soil in nutrients and, like I said, bacterial life and fungal life. And so that 1 to 5 inches is the part of the soil you should be caring about the most. That's the part that you should really be taking care of. By keeping your soil covered, by mulching, or by growing a cover crop, or just perennials, or keeping your bed covered with plants, that's going to help protect that soil. It's going to help protect it from solarization from the sun. It's also going to, what you're going to do is you're not going to have a whole lot of leaching. What happens over time is that when you water your bed or it rains, what happens is that all the nutrients get flooded out, and your soil life needs nutrients. It needs stuff to feed on, because a lot of times people, again, just assume that their soil is it is what it is and no maintenance is needed. But you have to realize that a lot like you and I need to eat, there are bacteria and fungi in the soil that also need to eat. And if you do not give them something to eat, they will die. And so it's a very temperamental balance that has to be maintained in the garden. And that's why in the upcoming episodes, we're going to talk about how to maintain that balance. We've touched on a few things here and there, but that's also one of the most important things that we need to understand, is that if you don't maintain that healthy balance, you're going to have unhealthy soil, which will then affect the health of your garden. But a healthy microbial balance is one of the more important aspects to a healthy soil. It's not the most important aspect. I would say probably having that at least 5% humus is probably the most important part to having a healthy soil. But maintaining a healthy microbial balance is up there, I would say. And it's a lot like your stomach. You've probably heard your gut flora is very good for digestion, and that's what helps break down your food and metabolize nutrients and carbohydrates, and it basically helps you get the energy that you need from the food that you're eating. And so your gut flora, if there is an imbalance, also known as candida, if you have a candida overgrowth, what happens is that's bad bacteria not being balanced by the good bacteria. And so what you can have in your soil is kind of a candida overgrowth. If you are not maintaining the health of your soil through proper aeration, or through constantly remineralizing your soil, feeding the good bacteria, or you're not adding that humus, which adds a lot of aeration and good bacteria inoculated into your soil, you're going to have an environment in which it will be very anaerobic. And anaerobic bacteria is not a very good type of bacteria to have in your garden. There are good types of anaerobic bacteria, and this is getting a little bit further away than I wanted to get, but if you've ever heard of bokashi composting, it's basically an anaerobic composter that allows you to break down tons of different types of food waste rather than just your organic material. So you can break down things like eggs and meat and fatty foods, stuff that you would never ever want to throw into a compost pile because it would breed very bad bacteria. But in a bokashi style composting, you are taking those good bacteria that are anaerobic. However, what I want to kind of rewind when I said that you don't want an anaerobic environment, it's that when you have an anaerobic environment, there might be one good bacteria that is anaerobic, but there are 9 that are bad, like E. coli and Salmonella. A lot of those can be found in an anaerobic environment. And so that's just to name a few, but there's a lot of other ones that are not very good in your garden that also don't really help the health of your garden out at all. So it's one of those things that having very good soil health can help increase the, I guess, the overall well-being of your soil, and that also will reflect in your plant's health and your garden success. So it's something that I think is really important to talk about, and that's why I'm excited for this little upcoming series. I think I'll do it in maybe 2 or 3 videos, and we'll just touch on different ways to maintain your soil health through the different things that we touched on in this video. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something new. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home, and we'll catch you all later. See ya. Bye.